Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Good Book Hunting. My name is Gretchen. I am the Digital Services Librarian here at the Westfield Athenaeum, and I am joined today by my fantastic colleagues for another attempt to show you how to find Readalikes for the most popular titles that you are requesting in the catalog. So it's very possible that you are on a wait list for something and it's not going to come for a while and you're like, I want something like that, but you don't know what it is. And we're going to teach you how to use a bunch of different resources to find these Readalikes and hopefully get you a book faster, because really that's what we're here for. So today, one of the top requested titles in our catalog is The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. And we will be using the catalog, the CW Mars catalog that you might be familiar with, to find Readalikes for you, and Olivia will be modeling that for us. Erica will be using NoveList, Anne will be using Google, and I will be using Goodreads. And we will all be finding Readalikes, coming together after the fact and comparing how good those Readalikes actually are. So without further ado, let me just tell you a little bit about The Vanishing Half in case you're not sure what in the world we're talking about. This is a release from this year, New York Times bestseller, long-listed for the National Book Award, about a novel about twin sisters, inseparable as children, who ultimately choose to live in two very different worlds, one black and one white. And that's from the official synopsis. So this is going to be a book that deals with identity, family, white politics, African-American politics in a version of our world, a version of it. So without further ado, I am going to hand this over to Olivia so she can show you how to find Readalikes.
Okay. Hi everyone, like Gretchen said, my name is Olivia and I'm going to show you how to find Readalikes for The Vanishing Half through the CW Mars catalog, which you can use from home. You don't have to only use it in the library. Okay, so if you've gone to our website before, you can search the catalog right up here on our homepage of our website. You can just type in whatever you want and it'll take you right to the catalog. Or you can always go to westfield.cwmars.org and enter. And it'll take you to this page and you can search, and it'll only search what we have here in Westfield, which is really helpful, especially right now when we're doing Library to Go. You can see what we have available right now. So you just can type in The Vanishing Half and it'll load up. So we'll click on its record. And as it loads, you can see lots of descriptive information about this book. You can see all the holds on it, which are quite a few. So it could take a little while for you to get yours. But as you scroll down the page, you'll see a summary. So it's probably similar to what Gretchen read before we started. And then they also have subject and genre. So depending on what you're looking for, the subjects tend to be a little bit more specific. Like you can see twins fiction, so it'll return books that feature twins and are fiction. Or you can just do historical fiction. So it really depends on what you are interested most about this book. For right now, I think I will do African-American women fiction. And you can always click and you might start seeing, oh, I don't like these books. Let's go back. So we'll just take a quick look. So this is what has returned for that. But I'm not sure if this is really what people read the book for. So let's go back and try, let's try domestic fiction under genre. So this will return genre books that discuss domestic fiction. Okay, so as you can see, there are quite a few, And you can always tell if we have a copy because it'll say 1 of 1 copy available at the Westfield Athenaeum. And actually right now it's only searching for the Westfield Athenaeum. So let's do all libraries because we are accepting holds from other libraries, so you can request books that way. So these are what come up for all libraries. You can always narrow this down even further by, excluding electronic resources. If you don't want to read an ebook, you can get rid of that. You can change formats so it only returns books, so you don't get CD, audio, you don't get movies or anything like that. You can then also sort by relevance. So this is how relevant it is to the genre domestic fiction, or by popularity or publication date. So let's switch it to popularity and see if the Vanishing Half comes back up to the top. No. So these are other popular books that have the genre domestic fiction. So I think I'm going to leave it at this and check in with everybody else if they're ready.
So as you can see in the catalog, there are a lot of different ways that you can search by genre, by subject. And the thing about that is, you're only using one at a time, but if you learn how to use the catalog, you actually can combine some of these things in the search bar. As Olivia was showing you things, you saw those brackets and weird things that come up in the search bar, and those are special. They have special meaning that we know as librarians and people who use the catalog on a daily basis. So if you can also figure it out yourself and combine different genres and subjects if that's something that you're interested in. But as we're looking at things that do combine a lot of really weird data, we have discovered in the past that Google and Goodreads can be quite odd and what they turn back. So I'm very curious, Anne, what did Google give back for you, the top 5 titles?
The top 5 titles from Google, just running straight from the book, not choosing categories, not selecting, which you can do on Google. You can go in much like you can on the catalog. You can choose, African American fiction, you can choose identity, whatever the sort of keywords were. But they came up with The Mothers, which is another book by Brit, Bennett. That one it does have to do with African American teenagers, and that is sort of related to The Vanishing Half, in terms of The Vanishing Half starts from when these girls are young and they run away from home when they're teens. But Mothers is primarily, it seems like it's another book by the author, so it has some similar topics, but not in terms of focus. The Glass Hotel was number 2 from Emily St. John Mandel. And that's like a top bestseller. In Google Books, if you go to the list, you can click on the book and it'll tell you what the book's subjects are. And the first ones that come up are antiques and collectibles, general fiction, thrillers, general literary criticism. Doesn't sound too much like Brit Bennett's The Vanishing Half. And that's sort of how Google does it. The third one that they recommended, When No One Is Watching, which is, again, a psychological thriller. Again, not particularly related, in my opinion, to The Vanishing Half, which I actually have read. So I've got some awareness of the book we're looking at. The fourth one is, again, top book, American Dirt, which is Native American culture. But again, I'm not sure that if I were working with someone who really liked The Vanishing Half or was curious about something for The Vanishing Half, a Readalike, that I would choose American Dirt, as a first pick. And the last one they have is Lucy Foley's guest list, which was a Reese Witherspoon book club pick. So, and that one also, Classic Christie, again, it's like a mystery. So again, I'm not exactly sure what Google, Other than that these are bestsellers or have been of some sort, that to me seems to be, if you just look at the title of the book, type it into Google Books, you'll end up with, 5 or however many more bestsellers. For sometimes they might relate, but in general, I haven't seen the connection beyond there being wanna-reads.
I mean, I did notice in the catalog when Olivia searched that, like, in genre, like a detective fiction was like somewhere near like the bottom third of the list. But I feel like in general, that's maybe not the reason why you want to read this book. So Google uses a lot of weird, it looks like, sales and list algorithm. If you're using Goodreads, which is what I used, it uses a bunch of user and reader generated data. If you're not familiar with the site, we will do another one of these with Goodreads as the focus point. But basically it takes a whole bunch of ratings and reviews by other readers on the site and says, readers who have rated The Vanishing Half highly have also rated these other books highly. And the first book on my list is I Don't Want to Die Poor, essays by Michael Arceneuax. I might be really mucking that up. But this looks like actually nonfiction that are essays about discussing his struggles in debt, which I guess maybe if you're interested in reading about poverty and economic anxiety. So I don't really know if that's really doing it for me. The second one is Meet Cute by Helena Hunting, which is a rom-com, your fun romance novel. I actually read this book, and based on what Anne has told me about The Vanishing Half, The Vanishing Half is more serious, introspective. Helena Hunting's Meet Cute is a fun time, but it's like popcorn. It's not, it's not very deep, and there's almost no cultural aspect of any kind to it. The third one is Find Me, which is the second book in the Call Me By Your Name series. So Call Me By Your Name is a very popular book that was recently made into a movie with Timothée Chalamet, I believe. And so while this one might be a little bit more closer to The Vanishing Half, although very tangentially, it's also the second book in a series. So I think you want to read the first book before you read the second book. Speaking of series, the fourth one for me is The Rise of Magix, Chronicles of the One Number 3 by Nora Roberts, which is a fantasy romance and the third book in a series. And then the final one is Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk. Sorry. In a remote Polish village, Janina devotes the dark winter days to studying astrology, translating the poetry of William Blake, and taking care of the summer homes of wealthy Warsaw residents. And then somebody turns up dead. So again, this one at least seems to be connecting to that mystery element that seems to be coming up. But this is considered a deeply satisfying thriller come fairy tale. So I don't know, man. Do with any of that what you will. Again, at least with what Olivia did, you can tell why they're connected. I have no idea why some of these have showed up here. But Erica, save us. Find us some better connected Readalikes.
We'll see what I can do here. So I use NoveList, which is really explicit in why it's recommending certain Readalikes. So the first one we have is Just Us by Claudia Rankine. So it sounds like even though Just Us is actually a collection of essays, while The Vanishing Half is a full novel, it's still thoughtful approaches to race and class and privilege. So more character-driven, thought-provoking sort of stories. We have Silver Sparrow by Tayari Jones. And this is a lot more of the family aspect, but still character-driven stuff. Looking at the idea of family and belonging through the characters and through their relationships with each other. Then we have The Turner House by Angela Flournoy, which is more of the racial aspect of it. How past decisions of African American families affect relationships with their own families, with siblings, parents, and children. And we have Passing by Nella Larson. So the similarities there with The Vanishing Half are Black women passing as white in American society. Passing was written in the 1920s, and The Vanishing Half is historical fiction that is set in the 1950s through the 1980s. And then the last one that we have here, we have Butter Honey Pig Bread by Francesca Ekwuyasi. I really should have practiced pronouncing that first. So this is, it looks like it includes some elements of the mystical that The Vanishing Half doesn't, but they're still character-driven novels looking at the different routes that sets of twins are taking as they grow into adulthood. So those are the top 5 from NoveList.
Erica, that was actually an amazing list, having read the book. I mean, I would pick up any one of those.
Yeah, it's really
Impressive.
helpful having the reasons kind of written out, because then you can say, then you can look at The Vanishing Half and go, why did I want to read this in the first place? Like, I wanted to read this for the racial identity. I wanted to read this for the familial conflict. And then you can choose from the list which one has that shared element that you can then focus on and read without, you know, missing too much of something that's on hold by hundreds of people.
It's also lovely, having read the book, there are so many of those topics that you sort of mentioned. There's some similarity, you know, there's some element that's similar to The Vanishing Half from your descriptions, but then it's like, oh, I wonder how this author, oh, it's set in the 1920s. I wonder what was different. You know, there's all of those reads are ones that I would be interested in reading again, having read The Vanishing Half. So it's just a lovely resource if people, you know, find themselves having finished something and not quite satisfied enough, or, you know, you just want to explore more. So, yay.
I mean, in one way, it's really fascinating to do this because, you know, there are bad read-alikes, but it might be that something that we said, this is not related at all, is actually exactly what you want to read right now. So that's what's really fascinating about this, is that you find out like, wow, okay, I guess for whatever reason, these are recommended and why, and one of them might really float your boat. But the interesting thing with NoveList and the catalog, you know, Olivia was able to search by those terms. So you can have those terms spelled out for you, like, oh yeah, domestic fiction, popular domestic fiction, like that's really what I want. And then you're already there, you can tell whether or not the Westfield Athenaeum has it. And you can have it maybe help get terminology for what it was about The Vanishing Half that was of interest to you. And if that's not going to work for you, you can flip over to NoveList. A novelist will say, these books are like this book for this reason. So like you can really use them quite well in tandem, and NoveList, as something that we have access to as the Westfield Athenaeum, does connect back to C.W. Mars, the catalog. So you can, you know, use them in that way. So if one of the books that we talked about sounded amazing, in the description of this video, we'll have the entire list of the top 5 titles that came up for each of us. Maybe you've decided the catalog or the NoveList is the way to go, or maybe you're like, no, actually, Meet Cute is exactly what I desire currently. Whichever way, we hope that you have enjoyed learning a little bit about this, and we will be back to show you how to use another one of these resources in the future. So we'll see you then. Thanks, guys. Bye.